In the early hours of February 14, 2000, a 9-year-old girl quietly left her home in Shelby, North Carolina. It was cold, it was raining, and it was the middle of the night. Asha Degree was last seen walking alone along a dark stretch of Highway 18, carrying a small backpack. Multiple motorists would later report seeing her on the side of the road, some even turning their cars around to check on her. But by the time help arrived, she was gone. Asha has never been seen again. No confirmed sightings, no clear explanation, and no understanding of why a child who was known to be cautious and afraid of the dark would leave her home voluntarily. More than 2 decades later, her disappearance remains one of the most baffling and heartbreaking unsolved cases in American history. Asha Degree was 9 years old at the time of her disappearance. She lived with her parents and older brother in Shelby, North Carolina, and by all accounts, she was a shy, well-behaved child. She was close with her family, did well in school, and was described as cautious and sensitive. Asha was not known to wander off on her own, and she was reportedly afraid of the dark and of storms, details that would later make her disappearance even more difficult to understand. She attended church regularly, enjoyed spending time with her cousins, and played basketball, though she was not particularly fond of being away from home overnight. Nothing about Asha's behavior suggested she was planning to leave. There were no known problems at home, no signs of abuse, and no indication she was unhappy or being groomed. She was, by every available account, a normal 9-year-old girl living a quiet life, until the night she vanished. On the night of February 13, 2000, Asha went to bed in the bedroom she shared with her brother. A power outage caused by a storm had briefly disrupted the household, but everything returned to normal before midnight. At some point between 2:30 and 6:30 a.m., Asha quietly left the house. Her parents later reported that the doors were locked and there were no signs of forced entry. When the family woke up that morning and realized Asha was missing, they initially believed she might have gone to a relative's house nearby. But as the hours passed, it became clear something was wrong. Law enforcement was notified, and a search began almost immediately. Weather conditions were poor, with rain and wind making the search more difficult and potentially washing away evidence. Despite extensive searching of the surrounding area, no trace of Asha was found near her home. As investigators worked to piece together what happened, several motorists came forward with an unsettling detail. Multiple drivers reported seeing a young girl walking south along Highway 18 in the early morning hours, alone, in the rain. One witness described turning his car around to check on her, concerned for her safety. When he approached, the child reportedly ran off into the woods, disappearing from view. These sightings were taken seriously by law enforcement and are considered credible. They confirmed something few people could believe at the time. Asha had left her home on her own and walked along a dark highway in dangerous weather conditions. Why she did this, and where she was going, remains unknown. Days after Asha disappeared, searchers made a troubling discovery. Inside a small shed near the highway, known locally as Turner's Upholstery, investigators found items believed to belong to Asha. These included candy wrappers and a pencil. The shed showed signs that someone had been inside. This discovery supported the witness accounts and confirmed that Asha had made it at least that far on her own. But after that point, the trail went cold. No additional confirmed evidence was found in the surrounding area. More than a year later, in August of 2001, another major development occurred. Asha's backpack was discovered buried at a construction site in Burke County, more than 25 miles from her home. The bag had been wrapped in plastic, suggesting it had been deliberately concealed. Inside were items that did not clearly explain what happened to her. The discovery raised more questions than answers. Who put the backpack there? Why was it buried so far away? And what happened to Asha after she was last seen? Despite extensive investigation, no definitive conclusions were reached. Because Asha Degree's case remains unsolved, investigators and the public have considered several possibilities, none of which have been confirmed. One theory suggests Asha may have been planning to meet someone, possibly believing she was going somewhere safe. Another theory considers the possibility that she encountered someone after leaving the shed. What makes this case especially difficult is the lack of clear motive and the absence of physical evidence pointing to a specific suspect. Law enforcement has emphasized that speculation should not replace facts, and they continue to encourage anyone with information, no matter how small, to come forward. More than 20 years later, the disappearance of Asha Degree remains unsolved. Her parents have never stopped searching for answers, and investigators continue to review tips and evidence as they come in. Advances in technology have renewed hope, but no arrests have been made. Asha's case endures because it defies logic. A cautious child, a stormy night, a walk into the darkness. Somewhere, the truth about what happened to Asha Degree still exists. And until that truth is known, her story remains one of the most haunting unanswered mysteries in America.